If you like this video, please press the subscribe button to subscribe to this channel, and also give it a thumbs up. You can also support this channel with a donation by using the link in the description. One of the most interesting ironies about modern science is that despite the presupposition of materialism, quantum mechanics actually destroys materialism. In classical mechanics, it is reasonable to imagine atoms and the particles that make them up as solid bits of physical stuff that could be all that exists. However, quantum mechanics has shown this view of matter to be wrong, because the fundamental particles that make up all the matter in the universe do not behave like little balls of stuff. Materialism is the doctrine that nothing exists except matter and its movements and modifications. In essence, it is the belief that, as the late Carl Sagan put it, the universe is all that there is, and ever was, and ever will be. This is an essentially atheistic philosophy, and is at the core of the difficulty in unifying quantum mechanics and general relativity. Quantum mechanics shows that when subatomic particles are not being observed, they behave like waves with their properties in an indeterminate state, but those properties take on distinct values when they are measured. Called the measurement problem, it is one of the most challenging aspects of quantum mechanics because it serves as a major challenge to the materialistic notion of matter. These difficulties arise from the philosophical presupposition of materialism. Once this philosophical presupposition is discarded, viable answers to the unification of physics becomes clear. Within quantum field theory, particles are not solid objects, but excitations in their respective fields. This presents a major problem for materialism. While it is possible to imagine these fields as some kind of material substance, this is just a revised version of the old idea of luminous ether. One of the big problems with any form of a ether model is the question of what is it made out of. After all, to have the properties it does, it would have to be made of some kind of particles. Then you have to figure out some way for these particles to interact with each other to produce the properties necessary for the theory to work. The ultimate solution is to realize that these fields are not material objects, but the mathematical entities that physics and math define them as. The problem is that it means the particles of matter that make up our universe, and indeed our very bodies, are immaterial. This works perfectly well, but the fact is that in quantum mechanics, the properties of particles of matter do not exist unless they are being measured. The fact that particles of matter exist as waves of probability with indefinite probabilistic properties, including position and the ability to follow more than one path, demonstrates that matter is fundamentally immaterial in nature. So if particles of matter are fundamentally immaterial, what are they? After all, they exist. They have to be something. The answer comes from the fact that in quantum field theory, these particles are excitation in various fields, which are themselves mathematical objects. Since subatomic particles are excitations in these mathematical objects, it means that all particles of matter are ultimately mathematical objects. Put more simply, all particles of matter are fundamentally made up of numbers, and how these numbers change and interact is what determines the behavior of matter. This means that all of reality as we know it boils down to numbers. Not like numbers, not just described by numbers, but actually are numbers. That is why the universe is so easily described by math. This naturally leads to the conclusion that our reality is fundamentally information, because numbers are ultimately a form of information. This is how quantum mechanics ultimately destroys materialism, because when taken to its logical conclusion, it leads naturally to the idea that everything in our reality is fundamentally information. This conclusion, however, is in complete opposition to the philosophical notion of materialism that dominates the mainstream scientific community. As a result, physics has become littered with the failed attempts at a materialistic unification of quantum mechanics and general relativity. Ultimately, the real solution is that the universe and our reality are all fundamentally information. However, this raises the obvious conclusion of there being a programmer. In conclusion, quantum mechanics destroys materialism because it destroys the notion of matter as consisting of little balls of stuff. This is because particles of matter behave as waves of probability rather than little balls of stuff. They are ultimately shown to only have defined properties when those properties are measured. Add this to the fact that quantum field theory shows these particles to be excitations in mathematical objects called fields, indicating that these particles are mathematical objects themselves. This shows that the matter that makes up our universe, and therefore reality, are fundamentally information, therefore fundamentally immaterial in nature. Our upcoming topics in this series are digital physics, Planck units, the key concepts of the information universe, working with special relativity, unifying quantum mechanics and general relativity, and quantum gravity.